Have a team?
Not that I know of, not
I
this
couldn't
year.
find him in the standings. I looked it up.
Must have been too far down the list.
Yeah. Yeah, last time I checked, they were 16 games back, and I said, I'm just not looking anymore.
All right, we'll call this meeting, Sandy County Commissioner Order, Thursday, August 31st. My goodness. Please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Thomas, please.
I'd like to dedicate today's prayer to our friend William Bradley, who passed from this earth recently. He was well known to all of us, sat near us and reported accurately on us. He was a good friend. It's Tiffin's loss, his wife's loss, the world's loss, and we hope that he has passed to a better place. And on one of his most recent Facebook posts, he said he loved and he lived, so he lives on. And so let's undertake the county's business today with that spirit. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Roll call, Kelly Nicole.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Here.
Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
Commissioner Stacy?
Here.
Okay, I will accept the motion to approve the digital audio video recording of previous board session from Tuesday, August 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. It stands approved as submitted. Okay, let's talk about adjustments. Anything to add to the agenda? Commissioner Stacy,
No.
Commissioner Thomas.
Might say a few words about the Washington trip. Just can't go with it.
Okay. And we also got a opiate task force grant that I wanted to mention somewhere along the way. So, let us begin with the Justice Center, and that means Commissioner Stacy.
It looks like progress continued while I was away. Not all the windows are in yet. I don't know if an update came through today.
No, just our update from our meeting on Thursday.
Just from the update from meeting Thursday. And I know I think we got everything clarified on justifications afterwards from the different soon-to-be occupants who had concerns and questions on how things were coming together or how things got to where they were at. I didn't stay for all of that meeting, so if there was anything to report there, but yeah, we were tracking, they indicated about 65% done, so we're right in that range, give or take 1% one way or the other. And like I said, windows going in, drywall and painting getting underway on the inside.
The meeting that we had afterwards was a good news meeting. It was open to the public, but basically talking about a few other things. But the gist of the meeting was, who's going to move in when and how that's going to happen. So that's always a great conversation to have, knowing that is getting closer.
We established the, redefined the time for the cornerstone ceremony, which was reported on since that Justice Center meeting last Thursday, and that is to be at 5 o'clock on Friday, September 15th. And that way it allows for the, all the other lodges, and they believe will have representation from across the state, travel time to arrive to Tiffin to be part of a ceremonial march from the lodge down to the cornerstone, to the building site, and so forth. So it won't be a real long ceremony, but we think it's kind of significant that we're able to do that with that representation from across the state, the Grand Master, or whatever the title is, as well as then it's Heritage Festival weekend, so.
Yeah, it was it's a big event. It's a big deal. Jimmy, if you go in the archives and look at the advertiser from 18, or from the Tribune or the Advertiser, whatever it might have been at that point, but there were, to use an old word, throngs of people there in 1884 or thereabouts for the dedication of the cornerstone. I mean, the square was absolutely full of people. We would love to see that happen again. The public is certainly invited, and it will be quite a nice ceremony, relatively short, but certainly ceremonial. There may be something in the Foster, I don't know, the Foster had a paper in 1980. Okay, Chaplain's Core lease.
Yes, wanted to get you guys to start to think about the Chaplain's Court lease. Last year, we had given them some assistance and halted the billing on the utilities and such for their building. That 6-month time lapse is up. And, Tanya was working on getting her invoices for the rest of the entities, and we needed to know if we were gonna start to, I hadn't heard from anybody, I hadn't.
Are they caught up in their arrears with it?
Yes.
So everything's current
Yep.
according to our contract?
I'm pretty sure, yes.
Why don't we ask Tracy to come in, give us an update on what's going on with the Chaplain's Corps, and be prepared to discuss the lease and what she might like to do. I saw they made the front page of the paper today as well. They're heading down south.
Some of our EMTs are heading down there too.
Good.
Is, Derek reviewed that lease originally, the lease with the Chaplain's Court?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so we feel confident that we've been indemnified for services that are provided out there. We're protected.
The original lease, the intent, correct me if I'm wrong, Stacy, was that, we were originally gonna unload the building, basically.
Yeah.
And they came and wanted the building and said they would put it to good use, which they've done a fabulous job with restoration of it. And the whole thought was that they do that and, was minimal, I don't know, it was $1 a year or what the
Yeah.
arrangement was, but
Well,
it was off of us, costing us anything. But then, like I said, they've got into financial concerns and needs, and we stepped in to help cover utilities for a period of time.
That's why I want Tracy here, because there's been significant renovation done. I know the bathroom facilities were completely redone, and, I know they got some new flooring and that kind of thing. So maybe she could put a dollar value on that, and that might somehow mitigate our need to collect additional monies.
Yeah, I went out and toured it. They have done a nice job of maintaining the building. There's no question about that. I just want to make sure we're covered from the county because it is an unlicensed treatment facility.
Yeah, I do think there's a hold harmless clause in the lease.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they wrote that lease.
Anything else on that? Board of Elections furniture.
Now that their building is wrapping up, getting their space done, we had got a quote from, I think, what's the company, Holly?
Guilty. I haven't even seen that quote because of my emails.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Oh,
And
that's
I
good.
think he just delivered it hard copy to the Board of Elections. I don't know if he emailed it.
Okay.
So she brought it up. So we went off some of his quotes. They were looking for some tables for the conference room because obviously they didn't have a conference room before. So they didn't have any tables to move over. And that was it's gonna be a county used conference room. So, we talked about it and, of course they wanted me to ask the board if they would be willing to purchase those tables for us.
Let me ask a bigger picture question.
Okay.
It is our responsibility as commissioners or as a county to provide good space to the Board of Elections, handicapped accessible space and a proper facility. Is it our obligation to provide furniture?
Out of the left pocket into the right, their funding comes from us. Their general revenue.
Yeah, they're general fund.
I get that, but shouldn't this is kind of a backdoor way to do it. Shouldn't they, as part of their budget, if they have a need, show the purchase of furniture and then we would approve that as part of their expense as opposed to taking it out of the general fund?
How much money are we talking about?
And we prioritized
Well-
these quotes, so we didn't assume we were buying all of it, but we told them to quote us several
Okay, well,
things. That
here's my concern. It's a bigger picture question to me. So if a desk falls apart, is it our responsibility to replace the desk? At what point do we say we either do buy furniture or we don't buy furniture?
This is specifically for the conference room we're talking about?
These tables, yes.
But is-
But they are general fund, so they would come back just like, if the auditor didn't have any money in her supply line to buy a new desk or and needed it, they don't have the funds necessarily to, they come back to the board.
Well, and I've been very clear that I want that room to remain open to all county officials, you know. If the judge needs a place for jurors to go and it's not election cycle, he could use it if regional planning wants to use it for their regional planning meetings. I want that available to everyone, so in the spirit of that, I'm inclined to make it usable.
Yeah. Hilti's was a little high, so Nikki did some research for me on the tables, and we actually found what they were requesting was 22 tables. They are using chairs that we had out to Job and Family Services. We're just gonna, carpet clean, or the cleaners, and clean them up a little bit, but they're gonna use those because they didn't have any chairs. The tables are about, for the 22 tables, about 4,000. Hilti's, it's the same table. Hilti's was just about twice that much. So, Nikki did some research, and Friends is in Findlay. We did look on a couple of other sites, but that was the best price we could get.
Well, I'll make it clear, I don't have any objection to the Board of Elections having furniture, they certainly need furniture. However, I think that we have to be very careful in what we're doing here, because you don't want to set a precedent as to what you're responsible for as the county, versus, what you need to do. We put a lot of money in the Board of Elections. I mean, what was that final cost, or what is the cost?
We don't have the final cost yet.
Well, we're on what range are we talking about here?
The bid was 150 something.
Yeah.
Okay. So, that's what we put in this renovation at this point in time, and, again, they need furniture, I get that, but my opinion is that it ought to be done through their budget, that we would then approve. I get that it's out of the same pocket, but I think there's a procedure that has to happen.
Right.
As opposed to just coming to us wanting furniture.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying, Commissioner Kirchner, because down the road, they would, I don't know, there was just so many variables going on as we were moving into the budget year a year ago on what was gonna happen and who was going where and was it all gonna happen and all this stuff, but that they would want to, like, as they would for computers, they would need to budget going, okay, we know that this computer's aging and we're gonna need to upgrade these next year, so they would put in that budget, which we approved that budget.
Right.
And they justify, oh, we're asking for a little more, well, they've got computers to replace this year, as the auditor's office might do, or the treasurer's office, or anybody else, that's general revenue fund. So, I totally get what you're saying. My interest would just be simply looking at where we are with the dollars, not saying we need to spend all the money we thought the project might cost us, but to know that some very essentials are taken care of as they moved in. And I haven't seen the price quotes come back and or where we could get, but there were some other stationary things versus furniture, to be secured to the wall, a counter and an island piece. And those pricings were things we had to look at yet too. I look at those more so part of the project than the conference room tables. Because
And don't forget, we've got the voting machines, that are coming at us, and we put $350,000.
we got that money set aside for part of it.
We put 500,000.
500,000 set aside for that.
500,000 set aside for that as
Yeah.
well, so.
Yeah.
And I did print out their expense report to talk to Lori to see, because they do have some money, but it might be specific for a certain project. I don't have their detailed, what they're gonna use supplies. They do have some money in there that I can talk to them about, but I don't know if that was dedicated for the upcoming election and she knows what she's gonna spend. Talk to her and Jen about it too. But I would at least bring it up, and we needed to start to talk about it. And like I said, Holly hadn't had a chance to look at it yet, but I did want to bring it up because they were asking. We're a little delayed on the project just because of some changing in the wall structures in the vestibule. There's 2 heating units, small heating units up there that we weren't aware of. They were still working, so we have to put a solid roof on the vestibule, not roof, solid platform on the vestibule.
Versus suspended.
Right, and, but they were gonna go straight up to the top, which is probably an extra 8 feet. So what they're gonna do is not go clear to the top, put suspended in the Board of Elections area to follow the rest, and then just so we think it's a cost neutral change. But that did have to go to
Back to
Richland County And so we're waiting on their approval yet, so that has delayed us a week so far.
Just to keep this thing flowing.
Mhm.
The procedure that I think ought to happen is that they ought to figure out exactly what they need furniture-wise.
Mhm.
Bring in an adjusted budget for 2017. That includes the purchase of the furniture for our approval. That will be then part of their budget for 2017, a non-recurring budget item. You know, rather than piecemeal approval, conference table here and a desk there, we ought to look at the entire cost
Sure.
and have it included in their budget. So that is the procedure that I would suggest. I don't know what the fellow commissioners think, but that's,
That was the only one I wanted to kind of bring up since it was the conference room. They do have some other items, but
Yeah.
we can have them discuss them.
Yeah, I guess I'm fine with that. It's just a couple of those items I think are part of the renovation, like the reception areas were for the prosecutor's office. We had to get those made, you know, we had the counter made, that's part of it, but just that one counter piece and that island are functionalities of the office. The conference room tables are for multiple reasons, but a little different, I think, than that, so, but now I don't do that.
Well, I'm inclined to support it through either procedurally, however you want to get it done. I'm inclined to equip the conference room so it's used.
okay.
All right, we'll do that.
Annex appears as the next topic.
Yes, Shane wrote that up last board meeting for some discussions, because I think I was out the meeting before that, and it was talked about. So I told Shane I would get some kind of a before and after. I think Shane, we're mainly looking at the top 2 floors. And I don't know if these have changed much since the last one I gave you. But it shows these are the before and after on the second floor. And if you look at the dotted lines, those are the walls that are coming out.
Is that one set or 3 copies?
Just one.
Oh, that's one set, okay.
Yeah. So you can see that there's not a lot of walls going up. It's just a few coming down. The jury box on the second floor.
You have a laser pointer?
Do I have a laser pointer?
You do.
I do.
Get it.
Does it work?
That's
I
a
need
separate
battery.
question.
You didn't bring yours with you, Judge?
Who knew? I should just carry it with me.
Wait, is that one? Does that work?
Technology.
You can tell me where to point, Judge.
Tell you where to point.
Oh, that had it on it.
You'd have to stand up for some of it.
Yeah.
What? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your speech.
No, that's okay.
Is this where we add you to the agenda, Judge?
Yeah, Judge
I
would
got
probably
other stuff,
know.
I got other stuff to talk about, not on that floor, actually,
Oh.
because that's laid out different than
Are
the
you
third
gonna talk
floor.
about the construction of the new schools in Fostoria?
No.
Okay, this is the, I gave you the second floor. Let me see that, Holly. And I did email these to you so you guys could actually look at them on your computer a little bit better.
You got it working? Yep, it's working, all right.
If you can see on the second floor, here is where they call that the
I
knee
wanted
wall.
her to have it, so she
Knee
could
wall.
sit and do it.
So I
That
can
way
sit there
everybody
instead
can
of
see.
stand.
Wow, good.
Which is what, red? Okay. All right, the dotted lines are the what they propose to take out. This is the jury box, and this is the knee wall. What they want to do with the knee wall is move it back, because Judge Meyer, he needs more tables, he needs more for defendants. They've got, you know, the mom and their lawyers, they got the dad and their lawyers, they may have other people, so.
Child advocates.
Yes, and so that was his request. They're taking this wall out here. Any of the dotted lines is what they're taking out.
And this again is which floor?
This is the second floor.
Second floor.
Yep, this is the second floor. And you wanna show the second floor finished? That is third, one more, keep going up. Third. One more. There you go, that's the second floor after those, the walls taken out here and there. This is the knee wall that they were moving it back towards. And you can see he's got 5 tables in there. They're making a slight change to the witness stand. I think what they're doing is they're raising it. I know Judge Kebley and Judge Sheff had shown some issues with being able to see the witnesses, and they've expressed that for quite a few years, so that judge has asked for that. I think what Shane had brought up last time was, you know, the carpet, and that's, I want to make sure we're still on the path. If I can move forward and at least get quotes on the carpet. I know Shane had some thoughts that, you know, maybe the carpet was fine and we could eliminate that. I just wanted to, right now I still have them working on it. I needed some guidance from the board, make sure I'm not gonna stop them from working on that. We can make it as an alternate later.
Do we know if the carpet was laid and then that, those partition walls, partial walls, jury box, you know, box was put in on top of the carpet versus carpeted around it? I would assume it was on top of the carpet.
Yeah, we're assuming it's on top of the carpet.
Okay, because of just the age of the building, I'm thinking that probably was the way it was done.
Yeah, and the only thing
Versus-
that, you know, leaving the carpet, it's gonna be hard in the courtrooms. If they do take out that jury box, then obviously there may be some, I don't know what's under the jury box, because it is lifted for a step up.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's carpet underneath there, which, and then you're gonna have a different wear. It's gonna look brand new potentially
Well,
compared to
mean,
the rest.
we can debate all kinds of things with this, but should we not leave this kind of decision to those people that do renovations? I mean, is it, if the suggestion is that while the place is empty, it would make much more sense to replace it at this point, based on the recommendation, or, you know, I mean, I don't know how you test carpet to see whether there's enough nap, or there's been enough wear, or whatever. It just seems, logic would tell me that if the place was empty, that would be the time to replace it, rather than wait 3 years from now, and they would have to move all the furniture to replace it. But I don't know, because I don't do that kind of thing for a living. It would seem to me that whoever does that ought to be able to make a recommendation to us.
Right. And that's what they recommended, and that's what
Who's they?
Tanya, our architect, plus, we suggested it as me, Tanya, John, our maintenance supervisor, looking at that stuff, looking down the road, that the building's gonna be empty. We wanted to get a cost on it, so I have no idea what the carpet's gonna cost, so we went ahead and asked them to price that. Plus the first floor, what we were looking at doing is, because obviously that's the main hallway in the building, we were looking to follow the tile that's in the Justice Center now. They're gonna be
Sure.
laying the ceramic tile, following it through the main corridors in the Justice Center, so it all matches. It's one building.
Yeah, doesn't look like you stepped into a separate.
Yep. And, you know, this is what we started out with going on, and I just wanna make sure we're still on the
Yeah.
same. And I know Shane just had some answers, because when we discussed this, previous board discussed this, he wasn't here, so he just had some questions and said I'd get some updated plans. I won't have numbers till probably the end of September. They are working on it though. And then, but at that point, we can pull anything out, you know, if the carpet comes in way more than what we thought, and it would be worth waiting another couple years, 5 years, I don't know. But I just wanted to kind of give another update of where we're at. If you had any questions.
No, I appreciate seeing this, so. that would-
I've got a couple suggestions. One is that as we bid this, we do it in pieces, so that we know what each individual piece costs.
Sure.
So, you know, I talked to Judge Meyer, I think he's a good steward of the county's money. He thinks there's tens of thousands of work to do. So there's this disconnect that we've spent a year engineering something that he thinks is tens of thousands of dollars of work. And, you know, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I think there's a disconnect there. So I want to see this in alternates, and that's why I brought it up, so that we would have the opportunity to say yes or no, because we are the watchdogs of the of the budget here.
Right.
So whether or not we're renovation experts or not, you know, and the other thing is, you know, if we're asking the architects for recommendations, we have to remember that they get 7% of everything that happens in the project. So their incentive is to recommend that we do more. So our incentives are in the wrong place.
Well, I guess.
So
I
I
didn't want to
have
question
some.
their integrity, that almost
Yeah,
sounds like
well, I
we're
mean-
questioning their integrity.
Well, I mean, look where the incentives are. I mean, I think it's all backwards.
That's, I mean, using the same logic, you know, we should have got a $50 million bill on the courthouse theoretically then. I mean, architects' fees are what architects' fees are. We try to negotiate the best deal that we can, but I guess you're right. I mean, I guess that they're incented, if they have a percentage, to spend more money, but then it becomes trust. That
It's a
they're
matter
giving us
of,
the-
they'll never get business from us again.
Yeah, I mean, and we also have to, I
Yeah.
mean, Judge Meyer has been absolutely excellent in this process. You know, I've talked to him a number of times, Commissioner Stacy's talked to him, Commissioner Thomas has talked to him over the last couple of years. And he's not asking for anything exorbitant. He's asking for it to be retrofit so that he can conduct the court business that he needs to conduct. So I don't want to cry before I'm hurt here. I have no idea what the cost is going to be. Again, we put money aside for this, is trying to be good stewards in that category. So we have allocated money, assuming a certain dollar amount. We did that last year. And let's just see what it comes in at. I mean, if the carpet's, you know, $100,000, we've got to have a discussion. If it's $10,000, it makes sense to do it now. So, you know, let's see where things end up before we,
But this is a time to ask for the alternates to how to carve it up, so it's not bid as one piece. This is
Well-
the time to ask that question. That's why I asked.
I think when you get a general cost, then you can sub-bid and break it down however you wish.
That's kind of what we did with Board of Elections, regional planning, the
Right.
restroom. They gave us a total of everything, and then we said, oh, wait a minute.
Sure, I mean, if there's,
Separate those out.
well, we cut that back from what? I mean, originally, we had
300.
real sticker shock, we were at 300,000 and we got it done for 150 or something, I don't remember, but, it's not like we haven't been through this process and have seriously cut costs, based on recommendations.
Well, and you know, that's the example of where things got out of hand before we went to bid, so, you know, I think that's a good example to use in this process. I mean, they've been designing it for a year now, so.
I guess, yeah, the only correction is it could have gotten out of hand unless we were here
Right.
watching it on a regular basis and cutting it back half.
But we never know until we get that
Right,
first
exactly,
sticker
that's-
shock. What we wanted to do with the building was restrooms. We wanted to see what the parking lot and the ramp was gonna cost us. We wanted to see what that potential regional planning spot was gonna be. And they had to do one quote, and that's when we said, okay, that was a little more than what
Not
we
gonna
were
work.
expecting.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to be better, and why not cut it into pieces now and look at it in big blocks of things that we can or can't cut? Because it's not relevant to me that we set any money aside, it's all our money. So that budget number doesn't make any difference to me, it's just,
Oh, we
I
did-
would prefer to walk into the building and say, is this carpet worn or not? And
Well, there
be a
ha-
good watchdog of taxpayer money.
there has to, from the standpoint of fiscal responsibility, there has to be a point at which you set the money aside,
Right.
anticipating what the cost might be. You don't know what the costs are gonna be. Case in point, you know, the voting machines. We don't know, but we do know that we have a responsibility not to allow a lot of money sitting in the general fund, assuming we have a lot to spend, when we know we anticipate that there will be these expenses. I don't know if this is gonna come in at 500, 300, 200, but I do know that whoever looked at it initially thought that it's possible it would be 500,000. So that's why we put that aside. Now, I pray that it comes in at 300, or whatever the number might be. But we can't make a decision about it until we have a decent estimate based on what we asked them to do.
Right. I'm just saying that if there's 500 set aside and this all comes in at under 500, that, you know, I'm not predisposed to say, well, it's under what we budgeted, so let's go ahead and do it. That's not the way I operate.
Well, I don't think that's the way any of us operate.
So
No,
I'm
never
just
heard
making that very clear,
Well, I heard
because I've
this-
heard this kicked around several times, that, well, we've budgeted for it, and that doesn't matter, that's irrelevant. So, I'm not accusing you of anything.
Well, it
I'm just
isn't
saying-
irrelevant that we budgeted it for, it is irrelevant if
The
we
dollar
are not
amounts.
responsible with the amount of money that we have spent. I have never heard this board say, well, we budgeted for it, so let's just go ahead. That's just not the language that we use. We say, what's the best possible cost over the 3 years that I've been here? So, to suggest that there is some squandering of county money is just absolutely absurd.
You know, I'm just making my point now. So what I would like to do is that, as this approaches, that we have a meeting over there. So we can see the condition of the building, we can invite the press in, they can be in there, and we can have Judge Meyer come in and talk to us about what changes he wants to make. So I would like to do that in
Okay.
October maybe.
Just have one of our regular board
Yeah.
meetings over there?
Yeah.
We can be one of our work sessions maybe or something, I don't know. When, Stacy, did you say that probably the end of September before you're gonna have the estimates?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give the public a good chance to walk in there and see what's up there as well. Could we schedule that?
In our secured area?
I just don't know what purpose it would serve to
Sure.
have a meeting in the annex. The annex is open to the public. At any point that they'd like to look through that building, they're certainly welcome to do that. I guess we could have a meeting in the clerk's office or something, but
Well, we could call the session here, and we can do a walk over there during our work session, and walk over there and take a tour and come back. I mean, we wouldn't have to stay over there or be in anybody's way, but I don't know what, I'm indifferent on whether,
okay, I think, Tom, you got a thought?
Why are you limiting it to carpeting with all the floor coverings we have today? Why are you limiting to carpeting?
I don't think we are. I think that we're gonna wait for the suggestion.
Well,
from-
I hear carpeting,
Yeah,
that's all I hear.
Yeah, and it depends on what Jay, thinks is the best.
Okay, I just wanted to add that.
you mean in
Thank
reference to whether we're doing fresh paint too, and that kind of things?
Pardon?
Are you talking about in reference to whether we're gonna consider doing fresh paint?
No, I'm talking about the flooring.
Just flooring,
Strictly
okay.
flooring is what I was referring to. Thank you.
I mean, the bathrooms are still gonna have the tiles, we're looking to do ceramic tile in the hallway on the first floor, but currently on the first floor, the clerk of courts, their office has carpeting now, the judge's offices.
But it'll be a continuation though from the hallway,
Yes.
from the new facility into the annex.
In a tile is what right now it's carpet, and what we've recommended is,
Right, I mean, that would, to build a new facility and not have that continuation just absolutely makes no sense.
and I think that hallway definitely looks worn, but,
Yeah.
Okay.
no holes, but.
Right.
Okay, that horse gone. Regional planning space.
Do you want to let,
We have a couple
I think,
scheduled
yeah, we have a
folks.
couple scheduled. Tiffany is here
Oh, okay, we need
to,
to.
give us a chip
I guess
update?
we are
Yes.
late, okay. so that's
sorry
good.
about that.
No, that's okay.
Didn't realize.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm Tiffany Shaver. I'm the housing coordinator for WSOS. And just real briefly, you guys had went into partnership with City of Tiffin and City of Fostoria for the administration of the 2016 CHIP grant, which is a 2-year grant. We're about halfway through it, so I wanted to come in and give you guys an update, let you know where we're at with the grant. With it not coming through the county, I know you guys don't really see, used to be if it was all as individual entities, you guys would see the bills, you'd see what's going on, but in this case, under the partnership, you don't typically see that. So the grant was awarded at $1.2 million from the state, plus all 3 entities came in with the program income that was required to be committed to the grant. This HUD doesn't want all the money laying out there, so they did require that all program income be committed at that time. So with that being said, when the grant was awarded, the state came to us and Fostoria, who is the grantee, said we've got some old money. And it was $426,000 of the $1.2 million. And I'm gonna back up just a second. It used to be in previous grants for years and years that the grant ends on October 31st. You have all work completed by October 31st, you know, of that second year. Everything's good to go. Well, with pressure from HUD and the state implemented what they call milestones, that you have to have 25% spent by this date, you know, and on down. And I'll get into a few more specifics on those. But with this old money, they said we need to have $426,000 committed, and the committed means the contract has been awarded to the contractor for the project. And we had until August 31st, well, today actually, to have that money committed. We had it done by May 31st, so we were excited that that was accomplished, because if it wasn't, I mean, it's going back to the state, which would then ultimately go back to HUD, so we don't want that to happen. We'd rather keep it here in the county. Some of the other milestones that we were faced with was, the first one was March 31st of this year. Of the grant, we had to have $174,000 committed, and we had $210,290, so exceeded that. We had to have $69,600 drawn. This means the job's done. We're now asking the money from the state so we can pay the contractors. We had $116,979. And I mentioned the August 31st goal, which was met. The next goal we're looking at is September 30th. This was in a regular grant situation, we had March 31st and September 30th, but in the case of this one, we had that extra one in there. So the committed goal was already met based on the August 31st deadline, and the drawn percentage, it was 25%, which equated to $174,000. And to date, we've drawn $412,090. So we're far ahead of schedule with meeting the goals, meeting the milestones that the state has put in place. So there's no concern, no risk of money going back or having findings on the grant for that. And just to give you a little bit of a breakout, you know, when the grants were written, each of the communities was, say, brought to the table based on, you know, the county was $450,000. That's what the state said. A county, this is what you're eligible for. And then the cities were based on, you know, their population. Fostoria, I believe, was 300, and Tiffin was 350 based on the population. So in writing the grant, the state's very adamant that those are only budget numbers, because if, say, for example, we had, you know, we're coming up on these milestones and we don't have applicants in one of the cities, but we've got a bunch of applicants in Seneca County, we're going to make sure that the money stays here in the county versus going back to the state. So we've been, you know, obviously tracking that information to ensure that we're trying to spend the money as far as it goes to the county or to each community. So with program income, the numbers I'm going to give you, the city of Fostoria was $327,000 was our goal to spend there. Seneca County was $469,000. City of Tiffin was $420,000. To date, for City of Fostoria, we've spent $220,143. Seneca County, we've spent $226,759. And City of Tiffin, we spent $322,160. The jobs that we've completed with that money, because again, in the grant, it was written, we're going to do X number of private rehabs, which are the larger jobs. We bring an entire home up to code. The goals for private rehab was 5 in Fostoria, and we've done 3, 8 in Seneca County, and we've done 5, 8 in Tiffin, and we've done 6. And then the home repairs, this is where we go in and we address a health and safety issue, accessibility modifications, those types of things. It's just one system that we touch in that one. And the goal for Fostoria was 10, we've completed 9. Seneca County, the goal was 12, we've completed 7. And City of Tiffin, the goal was 10, and we've completed 7. So, and these are jobs that are already awarded. We've still got others that are, we call them kind of in the pipeline, you know, they've already been inspected, they're just, you know, out to bid or, you know, different processes at that point. Final thing I'll say, you know, I threw a bunch of numbers at you, but I'd like to make you guys aware that, I mean, these grants are, they do truly affect residents of the county. I'm gonna give you just a couple of quick examples of some jobs that we've done with this money. We had a family that was facing eviction from the Ohio Department of Health because they had lead orders where they had a lead poisoned child. We were able to go in and do a complete rehab on the home, abate all lead, and as of actually just last week, we got the final clearance from ODH. I mean, our risk assessor, once the job was done, did the clearance, sent that on to ODH. The home is completely clear. The child's blood lead levels was 10. It was 5 the last time. So we're excited. CDC allows for 2. So it's still coming down and needs to come down, but we're getting there. One other job that we did was, it was in Bettsville, and it was a gentleman, been working hard, and right before Christmas last year had a stroke. His wife called. He couldn't even get in the home. He was in Green Springs at the time, couldn't even get into his home because there was no ramp. He was wheelchair bound. Through the private rehab, we were able to put a ramp in. We did a complete accessible bathroom where he can, you know, be wheeled right into the shower, transferred from his chair to his shower, you know, so when his home health aides come in and that they can now, you know, he can comfortably live in his home and get into his home. So it is an excellent program. I mean, those are just a couple examples of many jobs that we do to help the citizens of the county. So you
Well,
guys-
it's great to tell specific stories because you hear a CHIP program and you don't think of anything other than somebody's house had gotten improved. And this is good stuff, so
Sure.
I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you. You guys have any questions?
Could you get us data based on zip code or township of services provided?
Yes, I can do that. I can actually give you a full listing of, because I mean, it's all by address, every job that we've done. And yeah, I'd be more than happy. I can email it to Stacy if you want. I'll email you a listing of all of the properties that we've assisted. Do you want specifically just this grant or how many years?
If we could have a couple years, I just want to make sure that we're covering the entire county
Sure.
with the program and that, you know, all the codes are getting some service. I know the need, it's based on need,
Mhm.
but, you know, there should be opportunities in every corner of our county, I assume.
Sure, and I will tell you in reference to that, we do an extensive marketing campaign, you know, in conjunction with this. Some of the different things that we've done is we have gone to some of the smaller villages and we coordinate with them to send the brochures out in the water bills. We go to the township houses, distribute the brochures, you know, so we do, you know, absolutely, you know, get the word out. If you look at it and you don't see an even mix, the problem probably is getting, sometimes we've run into challenges with getting people to apply.
Sure.
To me, that's really been a question I've asked myself. It's like, come on, you guys, but you know, I've had so many people tell me, well, they get nervous because is it too good to be true, you know, and you hear about, it's unfortunate, the scams and things that go on out there, especially when we've got elderly, you know, and they're like, or they're too proud to ask. And I said, no, you've worked hard all your life, you know, you've maintained the home the best you can. You just got into a position in your life that you can't afford that $8,000 roof anymore, or whatever the case may be. So, but yes, I'll be more than
A
happy.
couple
to
years,
provide-
so that,
Okay.
you know, it's not an anomaly, so I
Yeah.
can see it.
And, and is it not the, well, since it's a 2-year program, just a little bit of, I guess, background for, and I'm refreshing myself, but we would have done kind of the program objectives and goals in order to make sure we were meeting eligibility and applying for the CHIP grant in the spring of 16? Because does this run on the calendar, on the state calendar year or the federal?
It's not really either.
Okay. I just know that
Yeah.
we spend a good chunk of a day going through identifying the priorities with a kind of a whole community outreach with individuals.
Correct.
So there would potentially be an area that they might not be eligible from, or would that not, I don't remember.
No,
how that
they
works.
are
And just
all-
when we target areas with
Yeah,
that discussion.
and that's not so much anymore. I mean, I know that we discuss in what she's referring to, it's called the Housing Advisory Committee meeting, where we bring all the stakeholders together. And it was in the spring of 2016, because the application was due the first Friday in May 2016, and then it's funded starting September of 16. And in that meeting, it is discussed like, okay, do we have a targeted area? It used to be that we had to say, okay, we're gonna spend $100,000 in this target area. That's no longer a requirement, but what it is if, the Housing Advisory Committee identifies a targeted area, we do a targeted marketing effort in that area to say, okay, I know one year we did Bascom when they put in the new sewer lines, because the sewer tap-ins are ineligible in expense. So, the new sewer system was put in, and then we targeted Bascom to try and help residents with installing the sewer laterals to their homes. So that's just to give you an example what she's talking about with the targeting. We've done those things before, so.
Well, we appreciate the partnership we've had with WSOS over the years as a county, and thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Yes, you great things, thank you.
Yes, and we will next spring, we'll be coming back up for looking at the next grant, so I'm sure you'll be hearing from myself and my colleague Don Corley. He's the one that writes the grants, and then he hands them over to me to administer them, so I appreciate you guys.
Yes, I have a couple questions. When you talk about Seneca County, aside from Tiffin and Fostoria, I presume you're talking about the townships and villages?
That is correct, that's
Yeah.
outside the city limits, yes.
And can you give me those figures for the Seneca County grant, both what the grant was for and how much you've spent so far?
Sure, Seneca County, their portion, including their program income, was $469,000, that was the goal. And to date, we've spent $266,759.
And when you talk about Fostoria, is that just the Seneca County portion or the entire town?
It's the entire city limits of Fostoria, including the Wood and Hancock County portions.
Thank you very much.
Uh-huh. Any questions?
Okay,
Thank you, guys.
thank you. So we have a manufacturing showcase update. Carol, yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just wanted to give you an update on the manufacturing showcase. This year on October 13th at the Heminger Center will be our second year for this event. We actually borrowed the idea from Ottawa and Sandusky counties, but it's been very popular in our county. We have manufacturers get together, and they've identified 6 different skill sets that they want to present to the freshmen. Those being lean practices, employability, team building, supply chain, machining, and then mechanical engineering, electrical trades, automation. So the employers come in, they set up activities to represent these different skill sets. We have approximately 800 freshmen scheduled to come in this year. There will be a morning session and an afternoon session, and they'll go through a table covering each of the different 6 skill sets. They may see different employers, but at least they're all still getting the same information. We've had great participation from Nash Machinery, Webster, Toledo Mold and Die, and now Milling, and the fact that they've contributed financially to the event, and they've also spent a lot of time planning it with us. They've been on our committee. The other companies that we have would be Taiho, Ballrights, AFS, Tiffin Metal Products, Agrati CNG, Callie's, and NSI Crankshaft. So you can see we are trying to incorporate manufacturing from different parts of the county, trying to cover Tiffin and Fostoria. Also with the schools, we invite all the schools, not necessarily that are located in the county itself, but those that would have Seneca County residents. For example, Mohawk, we do invite that school and they do come and participate. We do still have a couple slots to fill from employers, and we're working on that with SIDEC and Fostoria EDC. But we have 2 slots in employability, 2 in supply chain, and 2 in machining. So we'll be working very heavily the next couple weeks to try to get those filled. Volunteers, we also are in need of volunteers. We have usually 2 people per group of students as they're going through the sessions, just to kind of help guide them, maybe help answer some questions, ask questions that maybe they're afraid to ask. So we do still have slots there. We do have Sentinel having some of their senior students will come and they will volunteer. They did that last year and they did a really nice job with helping us. And this year we've also asked Columbian and some of their honor students to assist. So that's the event, and you're certainly welcome to come anytime. We'll be there from, like, the session start about 9, and we finish at 1:30. So if you'd like to come see what we're doing, we'd love to have you. Okay, any questions?
Is there any specific time, I mean, I know it's an ongoing thing, but is there any specific time where there's introductions or anything like that, you would like us to be there?
I can get you the schedule. I can send that to Stacy where we have there's a
Okay.
introduction in the morning and then before the afternoon session.
Well, I was glad to hear you mention Sentinel and that
Mhm.
whole group.
They've been on the planning committee as well. They're a
Yeah.
big part of assisting
Are there
us
any
with
kids
this.
that actually went through some of these programs that are there that the other kids could ask questions of?
Well, the seniors are there, yes. They're going through a Sentinel program themselves. They would be with students from their school.
I think it would be neat if you had maybe a kid that graduated 2 or 3 years ago that's now an electrician. That was
Yeah, I
there.
think the employers do try to do that when they can.
Good.
Yeah, they have the younger employees that have gone through Sentinel program. The kids are going to identify better with somebody close to their age.
You bet.
Appreciate you coming in for the updates. I do think that sometimes folks don't see the connectivity that we have between Department of Jobs and Family Services and the Ohio Means Jobs programs and the businesses. And we know that's all the cycle of things that we all have our role and we make those connections with, and maybe get some more publicity out there about the event itself as for the needs of students coming, to more businesses to
Manufacturing.
participate or volunteers or whatever, so thank you
Manufacturing
for
is
coming
used in
to
our
do this.
county, so definitely seeing what we can do to get youth interested in those positions and stay in the county.
Thank you, Carol.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Okay, onward and forward, regional planning. Space.
Do you want to explain?
I can. Do you have the PDF of the pictures I sent you that you can
Yeah,
go to?
yeah, I think I sent her an email.
So if we go back to the drawing, oh no, you want me to go back? I switch back and I'm terrible, Nikki. Me, the brain, squirrel, and sparkly. We at Regional Planning we've met with the contractor and chose our contractor for their remodel of the previous Board of Election space. We'll gain about 40 square feet when we move, which is always nice to have a little bit more room, but the best part of the move is we're going to be more accessible to the community, and there's going to be more of a visual statement. They'll be able to find us a lot easier, and we're not going to be in a basement anymore. So that's always nice too. This was a great offer from the commissioners to Regional Planning, and the board was more than happy to accept once we figured out if we could afford it. And then the secondary offer of if we pay for the remodeling and the renovations, then we go rent-free for a few years, and we like that even more. So it always puts things in control. So there's minor renovations, but it's going to be pretty neat when it's done. To begin with, and I'm not great with these pointers, the current door is right here that goes between office spaces. So it's like right in the middle of the wall, right? So we move that down here so it's a little more uniform for the entry. On the back wall here, the Board of Elections had some old laminate, very institutionalized cabinetry that they had in there. And we were more than glad to let them remove that. And our contractor was able to give us a great price on putting in some very nice new mission style looking, you'll see the pictures of it, cherry colored cabinetry with a new countertop. We have more than enough space at this time for our current employees, our 2 employees and myself, with a conference room table and some storage, our printer, main entryway, and our own restroom that will be available to us as well. So if we can flip to the pictures, then I can tell you where stuff's going to go. This is going to be the color scheme. It's kind of hard to see the bottom layer, but the top layer is a light gray. And this light gray is going to go on all walls except the very back wall of Regional Planning's office. So the back wall where the restroom is and the back wall backslash in the ED's office will be this darker color gray down here, and that'll be the accent. The way to think of it is we have all those beautiful windows in the front that are going to be putting in some natural light, and it's going to reflect off of those light walls. And then we have a nice back accent wall that'll be a nice lighter gray color here. We can scroll down to the next picture. This is what the entry flooring is going to look like when you walk into Regional Planning. This flooring will extend from the actual entry door from the vestibule into Regional Planning to my office door. And it will go the whole width under our countertop. This is a vinyl flooring. It's very nice actually. And luckily the contractor actually has that installed in his showroom. So it's kind of odd, but all the colors we picked and everything seems to be there, and it all goes really well together. So if I'm going to scroll down to the next picture, We chose to go with the same exact carpet that is in the Board of Elections because one, it's beautiful carpet. Two, the squares are great. If something gets stained or ruined, you can pop out that square and pop in a new one. And we like the idea of the continuation of the flooring between the two offices. You know, it's county space and we want to make that nice continuation. You can see here that this is the laminate countertop color that we've picked for the counter in my office, and this is just a close-up color of the cabinetry. If you scroll down a little further, this is the hardware that's going to go on to the cabinetry. Let me keep scrolling because that's not really that exciting.
Let's not get too far into the weeds here. Yeah, okay.
There's only one more.
There's only one. This is the last. Well, this one and one more.
We're getting down to hardware.
I know. But we made sure that, I made sure when I met with the contractor that pictures were taken so that our board at Regional Planning knew exactly what's taking place. As y'all know who are on the board, then we always communicate everything to you. So this is a nice overall picture that shows you the vinyl flooring plank, the carpet square, the laminate top, and this is what the cabinetry will look like. It's just a nice, very clean mission style cabinetry. And if you scroll to the bottom picture, this is the office door we're choosing to go from the main area into my office. If you've been in regional planning, you know my office door is very rarely closed. So we chose to go with something that could be used as an accent piece instead of taking up space being open. It does, the contractor's already got it passed through the state that it does meet code, so we're okay because there's an exterior entrance door to my office alone. So you can see the colors match well. If you look at the very bottom of that picture, which it scrolls down a little further, you can actually see our carpet square down here with the laminate and then all the colors. So that's kind of nice to see. So that is where we are at right now. We are going to install 3 pendant lights above the counter. And we haven't picked those out yet. That's minor stuff. But we are moving full bore ahead. I did speak with the county maintenance department yesterday. John stopped in to see me. We have to remember sometimes the brain doesn't function, and I totally forgot about it being an election year, and the Board of Elections has to be totally secure. Our contractor was saying, you know, hey, I would be glad to get in there and just do a little bit of work prior to October 1st. And then, oh, we forgot. This beautiful raw wall right here that's going in is not there yet, and Board of Elections has to be secured. So we're going to hold off until that wall is completely installed so that Board of Elections is secured for their requirements for voting before our contractor goes in and starts. And that's just, we want to make sure we make everybody happy. And I totally forgot about that, and I already spoke to my contractor and he completely understands. So that'll be the process. We are falling within a budget between 20 and 21,000. We're actually looking at a way to reduce a few of the costs. Our contract will probably be for just a little over 20, but sounds like board members may want to paint, so that's going to remove some of the cost. And there's a few other things. We factored things higher, even though knowing it could go lower, just to make sure that whatever we chose fell within the range. So we're looking pretty good, and an estimated 30 to 60 days completion.
Okay.
Questions?
So a start date of what?
October, as long as that wall is done.
Because we're a little behind now on the Board of Elections with waiting on Richland County Engineering, so
Okay.
we're
That
hoping.
impacts then law library as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And I think the only thing that her and I talked about a little bit, she is using that slide with the, find another pointer.
Do you have a pointer?
have a
No,
pointer.
no pointer for you.
The filing cabinet over here, she does have other documents that she's asked to find storage for, and I don't know if you'd even thought about it since we talked about it. You know, my thought was putting a door or a wall there to have her some storage, but I mean, it's your area, but that was just my suggestion, because we have a lot of issue with storage right now, if there was a wall there, but I just wanted to bring that up.
Right in here.
Victim's
That's what we thought.
We got other people wanting that space too, so, but that was just a,
Did we lease this property with parking or without?
It
No, I'm
is-
serious. I don't know what the parking.
we don't have a lease
Policy.
finished yet,
Okay.
but we did not include a parking spot, which if she wants, we'll have to.
I mean, I don't know, what is the status of that parking lot beside there now? Is that for Board of Elections and Health Department? I don't.
Currently, Board of
It's just-
Elections parks
It's
in
county
there.
parking.
Yep.
Yeah.
and if there's any spots left, obviously, for the health department,
When we had a retail tenant, we had a designated couple of spots in that lease agreement, but that was when we had a retail tenant.
right.
And
Okay.
when
It's just something we're talking about now is parking for everybody, so I just
Yeah, we don't
didn't
have
know what the
anything
status
dedicated.
of that parking lot was exactly.
when this process started, I was told, but I don't ask me who, because I can't tell you. I was told the office space comes with 2 parking spots, is what I was told. So I don't know.
The only one that had parking spots were Hope Roy's.
So
At the time, we did not give any to the Board of Elections, and
I mean, it's just open parking.
it's just
Kind
open
of like our
parking.
lot that's out here. I mean,
It is, yep.
but
What was
any-
your target completion date again?
by the end of the year.
Thank you.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Let them
Gave you a
look.
dirty look on that.
Right.
If you have any questions, thoughts, or inputs that you might have on this, we're glad to hear them. I think we made some great decisions. It's been a team effort, so it's worked out pretty well. We're gonna have amp. One of the neat things that is gonna happen that I didn't tell you about is this groovy little pillar here that can't be moved. It's an eyesore. It's a big, ugly, round thing. Our contractor is actually going to box that in so that it's not so ugly. And then he's going to drop electrical outlets through it as well, so that we'll have electric on both sides of it, just to have another little option for electric for the staff if they need to plug something in. But I think that's a great way to kind of make it not so ugly and a little bit more of a nice piece there for them. So that's just one of the other items they're going to do. But otherwise, we should be heading in the right direction.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Let's go on to the Park District.
Okay, Sarah came in probably a month or 2 ago and had asked if the county had any space that was open office space. Because obviously they're, now have a full-time employee. They are in the basement of the RTA room right behind our mail room that doesn't even have a door. So she had asked if we had any space. We showed her the old SCAT area that was in the FSA building. We showed her the front area in Job and Family Services that they used to use, but it's been sitting empty other than in storage for probably 6 or 7 years. We also mentioned the Victims Assistance area that's in the CSB and potentially the Public Guardian space as well. She showed these to her board, so they were very interested in Job and Family Services front area. So we talked about some leash options. The same thing, I presented her the same thing that we were doing with regional planning, that maybe it would be, if they do the renovations, that, we would waive it for 3 years and then start, charging rent. They were okay with that. Rhonda, our assistant prosecutor, is working on the lease agreements now. But I did want to let you guys know, I don't think we'd had a chance to bring this up in session yet, but I know she's excited, and she's getting some contractors to kind of get some idea of what it's gonna cost and what they're gonna do out there as well. So just wanted to give you an update, make sure that's okay.
Yeah, I'm happy
Yeah.
to partner with the Park District, and I'm glad they want to be in one of our buildings.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Good
Yeah.
work there, thank you.
Yeah, so that in the article from their board meeting in the paper, and I think I came back and asked questions about it. It's space that's not being utilized, and if it can be utilized to the benefit of a, quasi county facility like regional planning and so forth, I think that's great use of it.
Okay, County Home Cemetery.
County Home Cemetery, I needed to bring this up because I don't get very many indigent burials this year. I've had 2. The first one we had negotiated, and that was Liberty Township. They covered the cost of the stone. What the law reads is that wherever the indigent has residence is the responsible party. Quite a few years ago, Fred was here. The Boy Scouts redid that whole cemetery. All the stones are the same. It's nice. It's taken care of. What my previous board had said is that from here on out, we were going to do those exact stones. What I've had the last couple times, I've had a request for an indigent burial. I've had either a township or city not agree with the cost of the stone. The cost of the stones are almost $400 for the ones we want out there. The law only requires stone, metal marker, concrete marker, one of those three with a name and the date, birthday.
So the difference between the cost of a metal marker and a stone is what?
I think we bought like 100 metal markers for $50 maybe. They're,
Which township is this last one?
the last one was from Liberty, and I have one now that's that's from Fostoria, which they have a cemetery, and if one of the funeral homes would have called them instead of me first, they would have went to Fostoria, but that didn't happen. So they're in our cemetery.
And
So-
have we made an inquiry to Fostoria?
I have. And they do not pay that much for their stones. They were not interested in paying that much for that stone. They have a marble stone that may cost, I think he said maybe $50, and they have engraved. That's what they'd be willing to do, but that goes against my previous board's recommendation of the stones. 'Cause
Well, I've got it partially solved in that we have commitment from a private citizen for the next 10 that would not be paid by the townships or the authority, wherever that person is from. In many cases, we do pay for it. I mean, how many times over the last couple of years have we had people not willing to pay for the amount? So.
I've had two that have not paid for the stone.
Okay. So we've got a commitment from a private citizen to pay for the next 10. That is probably gonna be at least 5 years.
Oh yeah, I mean, having two this year
I
was
mean,
unusual.
Well, not only do you have to have two, but then you also have to have a political subdivision that doesn't wanna pay.
Right.
So both of those things would have to happen. So in order to keep the cemetery in a row and nice and kept up and everything looking the same, we've got that commitment. So I don't think we need to change our policy as long as we know we have that, unless you guys want to have further discussion about it.
No, so it just require you asking them if they are willing to pay for that, and if they say no,
It goes to the individual willing to pay for it. Well, I guess, 5 years from now, some other commissioners can have the same discussion. Or 7 years from now, or whatever it might be.
Okay.
Okay. Commissioners boardroom.
Oh, yeah. And it's not a big deal. We had talked about, we only have board meetings every once a week, twice a week at the most. And there's quite a few times we'll have a meeting in here, and we did this with the land bank the other day. There's a lot of paperwork that kind of needs to be, that would be nice to have a table to sit at. And I think I had talked to Mike about this a couple of months ago, actually, about your thoughts on maybe some tables in here, maybe replacing the pews with chairs. This is obviously not a priority by any means. We just
Well,
were
it makes
thinking
more,
of different
yeah,
things to do.
when we have a meeting, and we have probably one meeting a week in this office about something or another, that there are 4 or 5 people or more. Yeah. And we're going back to that, the downstairs kind of uncomfortable area, if you will. Since this room was open at that point anyways, and it has an audio, video stuff in it that you might need for those meetings, it would make sense to me if we were able to somehow configure a table in here to have a meeting. I mean, this is the nicest room that we have, and it's way underutilized. So.
And haven't got any prices on it, I just wanted to.
I certainly don't want to spend any real money
Right.
to do that, but it would seem if we could get a couple of inches, I'll put them on the sidewalls maybe and have room for a table that also people could sit at during the meeting. It's unusual for us to have more than 10 people here for our meetings. It happens, but it's unusual.
or you just have the chairs and table, be able to put the tables up when we know we have a scheduled meeting
Right.
versus a board session. Do we have the chairs? I'm not opposed to the idea, but I know chairs aren't cheap.
Right.
And I know we've already committed so many, there's a couple offices taking the grabs at the ones for,
Well, I saw the board of elections, they have like 912 of them. I don't know how many that were, but I mean, there's 50.
Are they moved up, there should have been about, there are 30-something.
Yeah, 30-something
They
chairs.
took 44
For that
chairs.
conference room.
44 chairs, I mean,
Yep.
Yeah, when you do a
We could
conference
probably
room.
use 10 of those. I think they would get by with 34.
Probably, you just, yeah, if they ask for 20-some tables, there's 2 per table. I mean, those,
Nothing fancy, I mean, I don't.
no, but
think
we've
you
got
know
these,
anything fancy.
I mean, I guess back to the question, we have stacks of those brown chairs, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess we can get the cost.
I mean, we even talked as far as being able to mount a table, like a Murphy table or something, so to speak, that would just kind of come down. When we needed it. I don't,
That brings me haunting memories of elementary cafeterias. I don't know if it's the food or the tables, but.
I appreciate that. I can't control your memory. Okay,
So, just wanted to,
all right, well, that's a good topic. Okay, Shane mentioned Washington, maybe you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so Holly and I did attend the White House briefing in Washington DC over the last few days, and there was a lot of information that was presented, and Holly and I worked at disseminating that to appropriate people, things like economic development and transportation and energy. But the number one takeaway that I think I want to share is this administration's explicit desire to communicate directly with local government, and they want it to be an open door policy. The analogy he used is, our president likes to tweet, and that's because he likes to circumvent, typical news sources and the filters and go directly to the people. And this effort is in that same vein, which is instead of working back through the layers of bureaucracy, let's go right to the local government folks and have them be able to talk directly to a problem solver in the federal government. So that door is open, and we'll have a list of contacts to share with everybody. If you need to talk to somebody at the EPA, there's going to be a person at the EPA dedicated to solving local government's problems. If you need to talk to somebody at DOT, same. So that's my takeaway. Holly, whatever you have.
Yeah, it was all coordinated by the Intergovernmental Affairs deputy from the White House, and as he said, they meet on a weekly basis with a representative at all of those other offices. And we got to hear from folks from NASA to strictly with those working on infrastructure, to the HUD program, CDBG, to the EPA, and et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's just phenomenal. There was commissioners there that I know shared that they've been commissioners over 14 years, and they've never seen this type of outreach effort. And like they said, we're the closest, and they kept reiterating, every director had come in, that you're the closest to people. You saw what it took to get into where we're at. That doesn't happen in your offices. How many of you have secure offices? You have to. The people can directly reach you. They know where you live. They know where you work every day. They can find you. And we appreciate that you're the closest to them, so we need to know what your problems are. So it was a good day. Good day. Time well spent.
Perfect.
The other thing I just wanted to bring up is we had asked John to report to us on cost of renovating the Carnegie Library, and that's coming up, so I just don't want to lose track of that. That should be in the next 2 weeks, I would assume. So we should have some preliminary thoughts on that.
Okay, the only other thing I had here before we get into appropriations is the opiate grant administration. I wish Mike or Judge Kelbley hadn't left, but I'm sure he had things to do. But we received a grant, we being the county. I don't remember the number, but I know it'll be just significant, a couple $100,000, $270, I think, to be distributed between the judges, the sheriff, and mental health and recovery. And we do want to, just for future, we want to set up a separate fund, if this is okay with my fellow commissioners. Set up a separate fund that will be administered by Mental Health and Recovery Board. I've talked to Julie, she's okay with it. Julie, the auditor. Do you have a number?
that's what I was gonna look, so I printed it out before it came in here. Just going over
So I guess the question is there any objection to it being a separate fund or the Mental Health and Recovery Board administering the fund?
No, I think that's an appropriate way to have it handled. The emphasis of this was very evident, obviously, across the nation, but in remarks to us on Tuesday specifically from the President's advisor, Kellyanne Conway, that's what she talked about, and indicating that she goes, you guys, there's a lot of unique programs being done out there at your local levels, and we just emphasize the need for that to continue. And I didn't know enough about the opiate task force. I know you sit on that for us, to want to speak up and say, hey, this is what we got going on in Seneca County. But I think that just only makes sense with what efforts we've already got in place. And I think without those, I don't know that we would have got that money. If we hadn't shown that evidence of what.
Yeah, that was a key factor in the application for sure.
Sheriff's Office gets 120, Common Police gets 120, and then for the administration and Mental Health and Recovery Services Board gets 30.
Yeah, so 270, that's what my memory told me. Okay. So 270 is the amount of the grant, that's great.
And Julie is working on getting the fine details to send us the fund request so we can do it by
Yeah.
legislation.
And the reason for the grant is to specifically fight opiate addiction and to put programs in place at the judge's discretion and at the sheriff's discretion that will assist in combating the problem. So it's a grant in which the specific purpose is to try to reduce the problem that we have with dependency on opiates, but it allows the different political subdivisions to do what they think they need is appropriate with the money, which I think is a different kind of way to look at things. So the sheriff has significant money, the judges as well, and then mental health and recovery kind of is the wraparound service for all those things. Okay, supplemental appropriations.
One other thing I'd like to add about
Yes,
Mental Health
sorry.
and Recovery Services Board is they've been wonderful getting our EMS, the fire departments, the Narcan to carry in our ambulances, the health department as well. They did some grant efforts for us to make sure that all of our squads, all of our fire departments have the extra Narcan that they need for this. So we thank them for doing that. They've gotten quite a few grants for us, so it's good.
We're trying to work hard enough that Narcan becomes
Yes.
unnecessary.
Right.
Okay, appropriations.
I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations to the E911 fund, putting $5,245.04 into their contract services line. They're working on the 911 upgrade, and this was a piece of equipment that, you know, it was obviously outdated, and it's a technical, like a network card, and they called it a sidecar. I'm not technical enough to know, but Jake looked over this, and this is from the Motorola company that we're doing the contract
And
with.
we want to prove for it. I mean, that's a good, that really is something that you probably ought to talk to Dan or Ken about, because Seneca County, we are redoing the entire 911 system, and it doesn't cost taxpayers a dime. It's based on service fees for all the cell phone companies, and they accumulate that money. Now the time has come to redo from a fiber optic standpoint and from a number of other hardware options to redo the entire 911 system for the county to make it, you know, to be able to pinpoint people's locations and to make it quicker. So they're doing a lot of hard work out there, and it would be something good for you guys to talk to them about, because I think it's good stuff.
I have an appropriation adjustment within the general fund, moving $2,000 from contract services to supplies. This is at the request of Judge Shaw. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations to the land bank fund for $15.22 in advertising. A resolution authorizing Stacy Wilson as county administrator to sign the CCAO COHGTS, a lot of acronyms there. The natural gas renewal agreement. They were in here a while ago discussing the prices and everything on that. Finally got the agreement done. A resolution authorizing the food service agreement with the North Central Ohio Education Service Center on behalf of Seneca County Sheriff's Office effective September 1st, 2017. They've done this for quite a few years, supplying the school the food. Also, another one, we have authorizing the Seneca County Board of Commissioners to enter into a food service agreement with Bridges Community Academy on behalf of the Seneca County Sheriff's Office. This one is retroactive to August 23rd, 2007.
How does that work?
Their kitchen makes the food
Bridges Community Academy
for them.
for the sheriff's department?
The sheriff's department.
Sheriff's Department
Makes
food for Bridges.
Right, okay.
Backwards.
And then,
Same with NCOESC.
and so the sheriff sells food to NCOA.
Yes, yep.
All right.
Yep, I
Okay.
think he updated the cost just a little bit this year.
I will entertain a motion for approval for the appropriations.
So moved.
A second.
Too much paperwork.
Yeah.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes. Well, it's also appropriate to mention, I think, that one of us at this table has become a grandma for the first time. Kind of figure out which one that may be. She is quite a proud grandmother, so congratulations to Harley for that. Okay, public comment time.
I have a couple.
Yes.
Two very easy ones. First one is, I wanted to give you just a brief update on the cost for our consultant for the USDA Rural Community Development Initiative grant application. We agreed in our contract to pay up to $4,000 for the consultant services, and we ended up with a final invoice of $2,475.08. So we saved over $1,500 on that. So I just wanted to highlight that and let you know that, hey, wise use of taxpayer dollars. We were being fiscally responsible with that, and we were able to do some cost savings with our consultant. And then the second thing is we are almost wrapped up with all of the tire recycling for the mosquito control and surveillance grant in Seneca County. September 9th will be the final date, and that is at Seneca Township House over by New Riggle. It will be from 9 a.m. to noon, limit of 5 tires per household, and they have to be off the rim. I will tell you that the total estimate of what we projected to do for all 15 counties was 30 tons of tires. And in the very first weekend for 5 townships, we did 59.25 tons. So thankfully, we were awarded a lot more than what we were expected to be awarded. We were fiscally responsible with those funds in administration, and we will be reutilizing those funds for tire recycling, as well as probably using some of regional planning's funds and talking to the OSS to see if they have any extra funds. But
Is that an OSS project or is that a regional plan?
that's a regional planning project. It was part of the mosquito control grant because tires are the main breeding source for mosquitoes because of the water they collect, and it reduces the breeding source reduction. And I will tell you that township residents were overly ecstatic to drop off their tires.
I don't know if you want to be overly ecstatic. I think they put you away for that.
But they were very excited. But I wanted to give you an update on that. And once we have the final tonnage number, I'm going to let you know how many tons of tires total throughout Seneca County were reclaimed and recycled, which is an amazing project in itself. So, thank you.
Okay. Thomas.
I have 2 comments. One's on the election board. It sounds to me like they wound up with a space that is a lot bigger than what they need. And they're trying to fill it up with tables. There aren't enough rooms like this to have meetings in. That's one comment. The other comment's about the cemetery. Previous board members there set up to have the stones all alike out at the cemetery. Isn't there a way that you people can put pressure on them to offer them to do it, put some pressure on them to make them do it? I think it's great that somebody's coming in and offering the money to put them in, but these townships are responsible for it, lean on them.
But the code specifies out in the code what they're required to provide, and that's what they're going by.
Yeah, Tom, I really am empathetic to that, you know, but everybody in town, you know, political subdivisions included, go through some difficult times. You know, we've all read the paper about Fostoria. You know, I mean, I know the $300 isn't gonna make it or break it, but, you know, every time they have an opportunity not to do something that's gonna cost them money, they're gonna take that opportunity. I mean, I'm sure in their hearts they'd rather do something else, but, you know, they've got a responsibility too. And there will be times when the county is gonna be lean.
I've seen that.
I know where you're coming from, and I appreciate your standpoint on that, but, you know, statutes are statutes, and if that's all it requires, that's all it requires. Hopefully, we have enough pride that, you know, that we'll continue to make it work out.
I hope so, because the scouts and a lot of people put a lot of man hours.
I don't think it would take
cemetery.
I don't think it would take many phone calls to make sure that a stone got put out there.
Oh, thank you,
Yeah.
I think it's great that somebody is coming or gonna do that, but, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Anything else?
So next week we have, regular board meeting on Tuesday, agenda set by Friday?
Yes,
Okay.
we have, our office is closed for the holiday on Monday. Labor Day. Labor Day.
And I'd like us to look at October 3rd, maybe to have a meeting in the annex and look at have Jay, see if Jay's available.
So I should send the agenda out tomorrow. So we
Okay.
won't be here
Yeah, see if
Monday.
you can get, Jeannie's got a conference room, doesn't she?
Over there?
Yeah. Or is there one back, the town department doesn't have anything?
Mm-mm.
We could meet
Judges.
in the server room.
Server room's got
The
files.
elevator may be a bit small.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can see if one there.
Yes.
Are you able to name this private citizen, Pike Kirschner?
No.
Who's willing to?
No, we're not able. It's anonymous, an anonymous person. Okay, we are adjourned.
12:01.